Guys, going to be doing an example in chapter 10, number 2, in response to a student's question. This involves clustering. Now, this is a strange question because they give you the clusters and they simply ask you to use Excel to calculate a bunch of averages and subtractions from the average, and finally to interpret it. So let's look at that. This is the data opening in Excel, opening this file, and basically we have to first of all calculate the overall average and the average of some of the specific clusters, such as these two. I think the easiest way to do this would be by inserting, let's say, insert filter by going to data. Sorry, you don't insert, you go to data and you go to filter. And the first step is to get the average of all. And we want the average, call it the mean, and eventually we're going to need the standard deviation. And this is equal to the average, point that should be relatively easy to calculate this quantity. Enter. Wasn't so easy, I messed it up. Average C2 to C50. I don't know what I did wrong. Equals average of column 2, C2 through C50. Oh, this time it worked. The standard deviation is done by the standard deviation formula. And we want the one that has an S because that's the sample standard deviation. And we want, again, C2 through C50. And that's the amount of spread. These two numbers can be calculated for all the variables by just dragging it along. Now we want to do this thing for Colby. I'm sorry, let's see, we have to answer the question. Let's get rid of this. It's the previous one. This is our base. And again, we have the answers already laid out by the student of 1263, 38.1, etc. So tedious to copy it over, but it's already copied. And then they want you to calculate just the mean and standard deviation for the cluster. This is just Colby and Colgate. So here's where the filter comes in handy. I'm going to lose this. Colby and Colgate. Really Colby and Colgate together. So you pick in your filter, we just select all, only choose Colby and Colgate. So now we have data only for those two columns. And we can say we want the mean for those two rows, we want the standard deviation for those two rows, and it's equal to the average. Parenthesis, try pulling it down again, enter, and 1229. Likewise, this is equal to the standard deviation, the sample of these two rows, enter, and now we have a relatively large. And likewise, we can drag this over to get the mean of two variables for all these, all these variables just for these two rows. Then the computer asks for the difference. the difference of the means and the difference of the standard deviation. And this is also trivial. It's basically equal to the C52 minus C55 and 1263 take away 1229 is equal to 34.1. And then he wants you to subtract equals C53 minus C56. And that difference is 786. 62 versus 848. Now we drag this down to get the differences. And now we have the results for the difference. Let's see, 34 minus 786. So let's check the answer. Is it wrong? What happened there? Oh, we know. Okay, let's go back. Final check. Okay, so 1229, 41.0. 1229, 1229, 41.0. Let's see what we did wrong here. 1229. Oh, I see what happened. We want the standard deviation of, we pulled it down. So we still want it to be C52 and C53. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we still want this should be C13 and 14. That was a mistake. All right, so these numbers have to be pulled over again. And that should 1229, 41.0. That's correct now. 42, 5.65, 42, 5. And now they want you to difference. The differences are 34 and 21. Again, instead of typing them in, having you wait, put in the wrong answer, and let's see if the computer gives us the answer that we see in the Excel spreadsheet, which we hopefully now explain how to create. Check answer. We know it's going to be wrong, but we're going to see the right answer essentially. And it's going to be, let's see it, minus 34, minus 21, minus 34. Then the minus sign is going to be reversed throughout, but it doesn't make a difference as long as it's consistent. So this is a list of all the, an advertisement for my list of WebEx. Okay, where are we? Want that. We want this. Okay, then they want you to repeat the same exact thing for, back to the problem. Now do the same thing for Columbia Cornell. So this time you do Columbia Cornell, just to have it organized. You want to have these 4 columns. And these 4 rows will be calculated eventually. We have to make sure that our filter is now only going to be Columbia Cornell. Now we have column 15 and 16. So you could theoretically, I guess, copy, paste, change this to, you want it to be 15 and 16. So we can make 15 and make this number 16. Make this number 15 and 16. That's the rows that are in our cluster. Differences will be C58. Now it's going to be 52, the difference is going to be, suppose we copied it over, we have to change it. It's going to be C52 minus C61. C52 minus C61, C52, which is the all, 1263, minus, okay, that should work. Didn't work. It did work. Okay. And finally, the standard deviation difference would be C53 minus the standard deviation of the Columbia, which is C62. That should work. And then we drag it over. Oh, there go all four of them, I guess. And we got that. Now again, we'll check to see if that in fact gives us the correct answer, just to make sure. Put in the wrong answer, because again, don't have this patience to type in the numbers. It'll take me about 10 minutes to probably make some mistakes. But the computer will give us the right answer. Okay, check answer. Okay, final check. Okay, let's see. 1274, 8.49. Yes, these numbers are right. And likewise, the differences, let's see if we did that correctly, and then we'll move on to the last piece of it. Multiple choice question. Answer. Even typing in a 1 takes a long time. Okay, so we have now 1090 minus 54.19, 1090. Yeah, so these numbers are correct as well. And at this point, let's show completed, meaning we don't have to waste the time to go through the same process for all of them. Oh, maybe there was one more, Stanford. Oh, Stanford by itself. That was worth discussing. If there's only one Stanford, let's go back to this. All Stanford. Deselect all. Select Stanford. Good school. And we only have one row. Now there is a mean. The mean of one row would be 1370, etc. So there is a mean, but you can't calculate a standard deviation of one number. It's like asking, like, what's one hand clapping sound like? Makes no sense. Standard deviation is a spread among numbers, and you can't say the number is 0, because if you had like 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, what's the spread? Yeah, 0. There's no spread. They're all the same. With one number, especially because there's an n minus 1 in the formula, it can't be done. So the answer is it's undefined. So for Stanford, and when you calculate it, so let's just see that. So there is a mean, and there's a standard deviation. The difference is the mean, but when it comes to the standard deviation, there's an n, meaning not, or really an NA, not available, not applicable. So when you subtract a number minus an n, it's going to be an n. They can't do it. And finally, the last thought question is, what are the differences among the clusters? And after all is said and done, the clustering shows clear differences because each one has at least one category that's different from the average from all the others. Okay, in other words, each one of them stands out. So for example, difference here, this is a relatively small difference, a small difference, a small difference, but this is a large difference and a large difference. So this cluster is this clearly sticks out in this particular dimension, this particular variable, how much you spend on students. Likewise, these are relatively small differences compared to the overall average, like 5 or 6%, but these are large numbers. These are large numbers, so this also sticks out. And likewise, so this one here sticks out. There's always some so the answer is that there is, these really are unique clusters as symbolized by this distance matrix, which they don't ask you to calculate, is the distance overall, if you start using that formula, among these different clusters and among the total. Okay, hope that helped. Let me know again if it can help you further.